I think that's part of the problem is the toothpaste is already out of the tube. So the image that always comes to my mind is that Disney film, that classic one back in the 30s, Fantasia, with Mickey, where he does that scene with the sorcerer's apprentice. Like, he's the sorcerer's apprentice, and then he puts on the pointy hat, and he uses the power to get the dishes done, right? And then there's shitstorm, right? The dishes don't stop, and everything overfloods, and it's just a nightmare. And that's kind of what this current psychedelic revolution feels like. It feels like a bunch of apprentices pretending that they're wizards. And you get a lot of, and we can't walk it back to 9 levels of initiation because everybody's got access. And they're like, if you try and make me do a bunch of disciplined, slow, boring, dull stuff, well, you're not the boss of me. And anyway, my dealer has access and I can just fucking go around you. So there is a sense that we've already open sourced all the keys to the kingdom. And so now it's going to be damn near impossible to slow roll or walk back access and index it to discipline practice and actually earning your way into subsequent levels. And then there is absolutely something that seems to be especially pernicious in the millennial generation. And it's probably, I'd have to imagine, because they are the echo boomers. They are the children of the baby boom, children of the hippie new age personal growth. So they grew up with that world. So they both have sort of contempt bred by familiarity. This is my lame ass shit my parents did. So they tend not to go back and actually learn their lineage. And then there's also just a utter unwillingness to honor elders. And their aversion to discipline and practice and humility comes through in spades. And when you have, and then there's also an element of a friend of ours, Brett Weinstein. In fact, it was the fellow that David talks about, the intellectual dark web guys. He and his wife, Heather, have made a really interesting argument that transformational culture, where we are right now, is going to be, I'm paraphrasing, but the gist is going to be forever immature and partially formed as long as youthful female sexuality compared to honoring with basically wise women, elders, as long as that split is I'm young and sexy and so I can bend men to my will versus I am a woman in a lineage of mothers and grandmothers and I actually defer to that crone position that's holding all the perspectives but without the volatility of the sexuality, as long as the men are still giving away their authority and their center to the young and sexy, this thing never gets off the ground. It will forever be split, and I think to that you could add the psychedelic, thrill-seeking, state-seeking, and there's a very strong overlap between like polyamorous scenes, Burning Man scenes, psychedelic. So basically, sex and drugs and rock and roll, except it's sex, drugs, and EDM, right? Are the current kind of triplicate that most folks are using as their sort of powerful rocket fuel, and it's completely unstable and it's ungrounded and generally doesn't lead nearly half as far as people like to think it does.